You're not half bad. You killed my father. Like father, like son.
Welcome to the motherfucker. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. This is my crossover. Alicia Baumgardner headlines MVP on ESPN April 17th, with Alicia set to headline an MVP on ESPN card that will air live on April 17th. She joined Brian Custer to talk about the fight, her career growth, and the trajectory she's on whilst looking ahead. Baumgardner on her opponent, Baumgardner Shin. I want people to understand when they send me opponents, I get to choose who I want to fight. And I know from coming off my last fight, I needed that momentum. What Baumgardner Shin brings, she brings momentum, she brings the fight. And most importantly, she's Korean. I'm Korean. This is my crossover to my international Koreans, my Blasians, and all of that. What people can expect is a fight, but most importantly, a skillful fight. I want people to see levels of what I look like fighting in those championship rounds. Baumgardner Shin is a solid opponent choice, but I think that's lost on a lot of people because they don't know her. I've never seen anyone have an easy time with this fighter. But as I've been saying in video after video, there is a growing demand for Alicia to fight in a meaningful fight against a meaningful opponent, and to a lot of people, Baumgardner Shin does not fit that mold. On wanting to be the face of MVP in women's boxing, I am the face and the face of boxing. When I do talk about being the standard and being the face, I have full confidence in how I speak and why I say the things I say. So yes, April 17th, you will see the difference in the champion fighter that I am, on what separates her from her peers. What separates me from the others is my dedication, my discipline. This is something that I've been blessed with, and it's my assignment to carry that out. There's so many layers to my story, but I think for those who don't know, I come from a small country town in Ohio. Most people don't make it out. I had a family that believed in me. Most people don't know, but I'm a project baby. I grew up on welfare. I grew up on grit, on hustle. I had to make it work. There was nothing given to me. I had to take the longest route to become a world champion, but I'm very blessed to be able to take the longest route because I learned lessons. I gained wisdom. I gained experience. On whether or not a fight against Amanda Serrano will happen this year, I think it's going to be tough landing that fight. I would say it would happen this year. Listen, I would say I've already been very vocal. Even though we may fight, it's a respect thing at the end of the day, and I let her know, hey, I'd love to fight. I think you and I would be a main event fight in New York City, another sold-out crowd. We are two great, skillful fighters, and she agrees. So everything comes down to negotiations. I will make sure that fight happens. I've been very vocal. That's how I separate myself again to have these big fights. That would explain what's keeping Alicia at 130 pounds at a time where people are expecting her to move up in weight. People who are expecting her to fight Caroline Dubois, where Alicia has become vocal about an Amanda Serrano fight. Caroline Dubois has become vocal about an Alicia Baumgardner fight, and it's getting a lot of people's attention, reading through the tea leaves. A Twitter user who goes by the name Truth Over Narrative said, I mean, it's self-explanatory. In a sport like women's boxing, where there aren't many matchups that the fans want, unless you're trying to quote-unquote build the fight, that big dog get in line talk is just ducking. Baumgardner doesn't want the fight, and that's really it. I've noticed it. There is a growing mob that has grown impatient with Alicia Baumgardner, and they want her to fight in a meaningful fight, it being that it's been about 3 years since she fought Michaela Mayer. Since her fight with Alicia and the rematch she was never granted, Michaela didn't hesitate to fight in other meaningful fights with other names, like Natasha Jonas in the UK, Sandy Ryan. Well, wouldn't a fight with Amanda Serrano qualify as a meaningful fight? It would if it happened, but people don't think that it's going to. They don't think that Amanda Serrano at this late stage in her career is going to move up in weight to fight for somebody else's belts. She's done all the fighting for belts she's going to do, and at this point, what I'm seeing from people and what they're saying is that Alicia is using a fight with Amanda that likely isn't going to happen to avoid fighting Carolyn Dubois. I've been a big supporter of Alicia's for many years now. Fighter that's close to me, but I can't defend her against the mounting wave of criticism that's being rained down upon her, that until such a time as she fights Carolyn Dubois, she's looking like a duck. To a lot of people, they're not buying this Amanda Serrano stuff. They don't think Alicia's in the driver's seat of those negotiations because they don't expect that fight to happen. The one that can is the Dubois fight, and that's the one they're urging her to have. The grace period, as it were, for the very delicious Alicia Baumgardner is now over, and she's no longer the darling among boxing fans that she once was. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, DAZN plans fight nights every Saturday after newly inked Top Rank deal. DAZN is targeting weekly fight nights in the United States following its multi-year deal with Top Rank. The streaming platform confirmed its latest promotional alignment this week, adding another major player to a roster that already includes Matchroom, Golden Boy, and Queensberry. The deal itself is significant, but DAZN's long-term scheduling ambition may prove even more important. Weekly fight nights. Speaking at the announcement, DAZN outlined a vision of regular appointment viewing for fight fans in the US market. This is what I wanted, and other members of the panel here on the channel. We wanted Top Rank to migrate over to DAZN. That would be the cherry on top. And it would seem that the boxing gods have answered our prayers. We'd like to get to the point where we're having a fight here in the US every Saturday night, so fight fans know they can turn on the DAZN app and see a fight right here in the US time zone, said DAZN executive Peter Oliver. The goal reflects a wider attempt to bring structure to a sport that has often been split by rival promoters and broadcasters operating on separate tracks. Oliver acknowledged that frustration directly. We know that fans have been frustrated over the years because different promoters have been with different broadcasters. There's often been politics that have stopped the best fights from being made. By bringing Top Rank into its ecosystem, DAZN is positioning itself to reduce some of those barriers while increasing the frequency of meaningful events. Like it or not, DAZN has built a massive catalog of top promoters and fighters, whether Turki El Sheikh remains involved long-term amid the Zuffa Paramount picture or not. The platform now sits on a solid foundation that comes despite lingering complaints over coverage, the pay-per-view promise reversal, and ongoing criticism of commentary and analyst choices. Even so, the momentum is becoming difficult to ignore, with Matchroom, Golden Boy, Top Rank, Queensberry, and others now aligned. DAZN is positioning itself as boxing's central hub. The question: can that many major promotional outfits all coalesce on one platform, or is that making things too crowded over there? There are still issues to iron out. Fight nights continue to overlap, and the schedule lacks coordination. But if those pieces fall into place and promoters begin working towards a consistent weekly structure across Friday and Saturday, the model starts to look far more sustainable. Top Rank President Todd Duboff pointed to that alignment as a key factor behind the deal. When we got into the room, we realized we were like-minded. We were like-minded on how we want to present and grow the sport, and in Zuffa's expected Sunday presence on Paramount, and the direction of the sport becomes clearer. After years of uncertainty following the collapse of HBO boxing and Showtime, the sport is edging back towards a stable, network-driven structure. It's ideal for the customer, for the boxing fans, but we must also highlight that having this many major promotional outfits all housed under one platform, one umbrella, must put a financial strain on DAZN's resources. It's not all sunshine and rainbows when you have to provide that many operational budgets to that many promoters. Can we expect price hikes? I think we undoubtedly can. From the moment DAZN debuted in America, the price has only gone up and up and up, and they're doing more box office fights now than they ever did. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some storm clouds in there to weather, but now for the silver lining. If DAZN can make all of these different promotional outfits coalesce and work together to come up with a cohesive schedule of fights, we could get a fight card every single weekend, every month. If they can sit down with each other and come up with a comprehensive schedule of cards that doesn't overlap. Now we have to bear in mind that there still is a distinct possibility that Top Rank may have upwards of 2 to 3 broadcast partners moving forward, and this idea wouldn't speak to that, whatever Top Rank is doing with somebody else on some other platform. Focusing just on DAZN and the players they're working with, the promoters, it could result in a comprehensive schedule of fights where there's at least one fight card, at least one, every single weekend of the month, and I would call that value for money. And that's just with the major ones. There are the smaller promotional outfits like Dimitri Salita, Eye of the Tiger, Dream Boxing, to name a few, because DAZN does work with a cluster of smaller promotional outfits across different regions that also do fights on their platform, to where you could be getting boxing matches several times a week from several different promoters, big and small. I remember last year, after Top Rank Steel on ESPN ended, the weeks and months that followed, fight cards were scarce. There just wasn't a lot going on. Major show here and there, though not a lot in between. This current arrangement would remedy that situation to where that doesn't happen again. Nor should it, because DAZN, compared to other apps, is a lot more expensive. So the goal's got to be to provide something on this platform that you can't get anywhere else. The move is interpreted as being a means to combat Zuffa boxing through Paramount's efforts to monopolize the sport. This would be the retort, the response, as Zuffa does their best to restructure the landscape and redefine how boxing works. Both respective platforms, Paramount Plus and DAZN, have their pros and they have their cons. See, Paramount is many times a bigger platform than DAZN is. They have many more subscribers than DAZN does. That's the pro. But how many of them are boxing fans? That's the con. The advantage of doing boxing matches on a really big platform like Paramount is you get to advertise your fights to that many more people, many of which might not be boxing fans, but theoretically, you could turn them into boxing fans by selling your fights to them. It's purely theoretical, though. The advantage that DAZN has over Paramount Plus in that arena is you don't have to turn DAZN subscribers into sports fans. They already are. That's why they're there. That's the pro. What's the con? It's a smaller subscriber base overall, 2 to 3 times smaller than Paramount Plus, and the only ones that are going to know about something happening on the DAZN platform are people that already have the app. It doesn't have the same visibility as Paramount Plus. That's the con. Still difficult for DAZN after all these years to appeal to the casual boxing fan, the casual observer, with the advent of streaming platforms and everything becoming so specific, so niche. You just don't get the spillover that you used to from conventional cable packages, to where somebody might bump into a boxing match and decide to watch it. Yeah, that's a con. But one other pro that DAZN and all of their promotional partners might have is they have brand trust. They have familiarity among boxing fans. These are brands that they know, brands that they trust, fighters that they know, which is really important in this arena. Zuffa's the new kid on the block. They're still trying to make inroads to appeal to the boxing fans that already know Queensbury and Matchroom and Top Rank and Golden Boy. Things are getting competitive, and that may make all of their jobs harder, but it's better for us, because now they all have to stay on their toes. They all have to shell out the very best content, the very best matchups as possible, as to not fall behind. So it's good for us. Let the games begin.
We've been frustrated at the inability to make the Boots Ennis Virgil Ortiz fight, and now all of a sudden we see, hey, it could be Xander Zayas sliding in, and quite frankly, I said this yesterday, that's a very good plan B, if that is plan B. Is it plan B?
It's a very good plan B,
yes.
If it's a plan B.
Yes. Are you interested?
Absolutely.
Are there talks of this happening?
Absolutely. You should have been at lunch with me.
I was doing my show. It's a long show.
Wait.
Zayas versus Boots is tremendous.
Yeah, we're talking.
Would you do that in Puerto Rico? Would Boots be okay with that?
I'm not sure Puerto Rico's the place to do it.
Okay.
In a perfect world, I love New York for that fight. I really love New York for that fight. I think we've been playing around with some buildings and looking at some stuff in New York. The availability is a little bit, but it's in talks. I mean, I think that you saw the chatter out there. Xander wants to fight. We would love to do the fight. And I know that Matchroom and DAZN would love to see Boots get that fight.
What was
As a result of Top Rank's official migration over to the DAZN platform where Jaron Ennis has already been fighting, it would seem that talks have intensified between the two teams to perhaps deliver that fight in place of the now defunct Virgil Ortiz fight, with New York City being the ideal site for the fight. Potentially, it would allow those Philly natives to drive down to the tri-state area in support of Boots, and the city itself already hosts a rather large contingent of Puerto Ricans that would show up and show out to support Xander. I'm still skeptical as to whether or not it's going to happen, but in theory, it could. For what is a 50-50 fight, in my opinion. I didn't view the Ortiz fight as a 50-50 fight myself. Because of the styles, I was leaning towards Jaron Ennis to use Virgil's trademark aggression against him, as that is a boxer-puncher versus pressure fighter style matchup. Boxer-puncher usually wins that one. On that predication, I was already leaning towards Jaron Ennis to beat Virgil Ortiz, whereas a fight with Xander Zayas is a little bit more tricky because they're arguably both boxer-punchers, leaning in different directions. Where Boots leans more towards the punching than the boxing, Xander leans more towards the boxing than the punching. We all know by now that Xander's not a puncher.
Are you sure he's a boxer puncher?
He is. Xander is. Xander mixes a bit of both, combination punching, aggression, but he doesn't just stick to that all 3 minutes of a round in all 12 rounds of a fight. He uses a bit of both, bit of movement, bit of combinations. It's all in the name, boxer puncher. However, boxer punchers are not all created equal. Some lean more towards the boxing, like Xander, and some lean more towards the punching, like Boots. So putting two different boxer punchers together in the same ring, the outcome isn't that obvious. Xander would be the biggest guy Boots has ever fought, who's largely benefited from being a very big and very strong welter. Not so much at junior middle. Xander's got more generous physical dimensions than Boots does. He would present the biggest guy he's ever fought. I'd say a guy like Xander, based on his physical dimensions, would top out at 168, whereas Boots, I could see him topping out at 160. Xander is a bigger guy than Boots, presenting the kind of movement that could fluster Boots, because Boots does best against guys that are going to come to him and try to take it to him. Overly aggressive guys, and that's not really Xander. Xander's a bit of a slickster, and Xander can move. He can box on the front foot when he needs to, but box on the back foot when he needs to do that. So for me, this is an, according to Hoyle, 50-50 fight, where the outcome is not obvious. If they really are moving to make this fight, just gonna answer the question, who's the better boxer puncher? Who's better with that base style? Because they both have it, if they make it. Now, myself, I'm skeptical. I'm not completely convinced that they are going to. I feel like Top Rank is still grooming Xander Zayas, who's very young. I feel like they're still developing him to where I don't know if they're going to put him in this fight yet. Throwing caution to the wind, just like that on a whim, because Boots was left without a dance partner, that sounds like a you problem.